So I'm just going to go through the Zoom settings and we'll just look at each of the things that you can do to add security to your Zoom meetings, just to prevent Zoom bombing. You don't want anyone showing up and causing trouble. So first, go to zoom.us. That is the main Zoom website, and click My Account. And then once you get in there, you want to click on the settings, okay, and that's where you'll edit everything. I just kind of jumped right there because I didn't want you to see all my personal info under my profile. All right, so under settings, first, let's just walk through. All right, this is under meeting. Host video. Start meetings with the host video on. Yes, you want that as the host. Participant video. Switch participant video to off. That is good just so like as people come into your meetings, your participants, they kind of have a chance to get ready before they turn on the video. That's just good protocol. Audio type, you let people connect via phone or computer. That's good. Join before host. You want to click join before host. Make sure that is not turned on. A lot of congregations and organizations I'm working with have turned that on because they want to create meetings for their community to use, and they want people to go into those meetings and be able to use that Zoom meeting space without the staff host present. The problem with that is if you're having meetings that are shared publicly, like if in any way you've put your Zoom meeting links out there, you could be targeted by Zoom bombers, trolls, internet trolls. And if that happens and you don't have a host in the space, it's harder to bump them out, to deal with it. And so unless you've set up a meeting which is like absolutely private, like no one has that meeting link except for like the 10 committee people you emailed, you want to make sure that the host has to be there. Okay, so for anything that's like, hey, come to our coffee hour community gathering, and you're posting that in emails and you share it on your website, you want a host there. So turn off the join before host. Your host needs to be there and moderating, and together your team working on security. All right, now use personal meeting ID when scheduling meetings. That's off by default. We want that off. If you click that, that's going to take your personal Zoom meeting and have that by default be the way you schedule new meetings. That's like giving out your cell phone number. Like it's like you want to keep that just for working with your friends. Okay, like you want your family and your closest circle of friends to be able to say, you could say, hey, you want to Zoom, and they know your meeting, they've saved it, and they can just click in and connect with you. For all scheduled organizational meetings, you want personal meeting PMI, personal meeting ID, off. You want it to generate a new ID for every meeting. So like when people go to enter in the code for the Zoom meeting, or there's a link generated with the number at the end, that's different for every single meeting. All right. Only authenticated users can join meetings. What is that? That means when you click the Zoom link, in order to enter the meeting, even if there's no other security enabled, passwords, whatnot, registration, you have to be signed into Zoom in order to enter the meeting. That's a good security protocol. Some of your users, if they haven't signed into Zoom officially, like signed into the Zoom app, the client app on their computer, it's going to prompt them to sign in. And some people, if they haven't set up the free account, are going to have to do that. So there's a little education you're going to have to do, but you want to enable only authenticated users can join meeting, because if you're the internet trolls who are trying to crash your meetings and do horrible things in your online worship services and such, every time you make it so that they have to enter a password, enter their email, log into Zoom, that's creating a little bit more trouble for them versus meetings where they can just click, go in and make trouble. So certainly there are very passionate troublemakers out there who will create multiple email addresses that they can keep on using, make bogus Zoom accounts. But as they do that, it's easier and easier for them to be tracked down. And so I think by having authenticated users join meetings, requiring them to sign into Zoom, it's going to discourage some people. And so we're just doing layers of prevention, okay? All right, scrolling down. Require password when scheduling new meetings. So by default, when you schedule a new meeting, if you have this checked, it's going to have a password be generated. Now, I know a lot of organizations not using passwords. So if you're going to use a password, I mean, you might set something up like your group. If you have an ongoing group, you might create a meeting for that committee, for this class or program, where it's the same meeting. You can make a meeting be recurring. So every week you're going to have that meeting at the same time, or you can schedule the different occurrences of it. You could make it so that there's a meeting password for that ongoing meeting. And so you can share the meeting link and password with everyone via email. Again, the more we do, it's harder for the trolls to get in, but it also takes more work for our members and friends to get in. So I think it's keep require a new password when scheduling meetings checked. And if you don't want to use it within each meeting, you can opt not to do that. But it's a good prompt to keep. All right, let's go down. All right. Mute participants via, I'm just skipping some of the ones that aren't as relevant to the security. Mute participants upon entry. That's good to check, because if you're doing a meeting in progress, people are coming in late. You don't want them to pop in, have their video on, their audio on, and there's all kinds of noise in the background. It makes it less disruptive for your meetings. Now going down in basic meeting, chat, allow meeting participants to send a message visible to all participants. We need to be prepared for chat disruption by trolls. So if people come in, they're Zoom bombing, and they start writing offensive things, if you have chat set up so that people can chat with everybody, as they type in nasty things, everyone's going to see it. Well, what do? You can switch it immediately when you go to your chat, the controls, and switch it so that, and I'll show you this in a second, you can make it so that people can only send messages to the panelists. So like if there's a problem, we want to kind of like freeze everything, stop things from getting out of control while you fix it. But so a lot of programming has the chat enabled by so everyone can see each other's chats. Some programming you might want to have that be turned off. Now, see, the following settings depend on the setting. Auto save. I'm going to leave it on. You can disable this within the meeting. We'll look at that in a minute. All right, private chat. Allow meeting participants to send private one-to-one. Again, these are the global defaults. These are the settings for your entire Zoom account. Within each meeting, you can always change them. Let's keep going. Co-host polling. Screen sharing. That's what I was looking for. The people who are crashing our meetings, our worship services, other programming, they're doing things like sharing pornography. So they'll pull up one of their sites full of content you don't want your people to see and share their screen. I just want to turn it off, turn it so it's host only. You see that? All right. So screen sharing, host only. You don't want your participants to be able to share their screen. There are cases where you'll have other people you're doing work with who you want to share their screen. Well, make them within the participant management window of Zoom during your meeting, make them a co-host so that they can share their screen. Okay. Who can start sharing when someone else is sharing? All right, we're going to leave that to host, save that. All right. Disable desktop screen share for users. Disable desktop or screen share in meetings and only allow sharing of selected. Let me just check that. All right, we'll leave that as is. Okay. Continuing. All right. Allow participants to share whiteboard during a meeting. I'm going to turn that off for now because you don't want someone in your meetings to start the participants to start a whiteboard. Keep going down. All right, allow removed participants to rejoin. If you boot a troll from your meeting, do you want them to be able to just click back in? No. So click. We want to make sure that's off. So if it was on, the blue, all the way to the right, you want to click it so it's off. So we do not want remove people to rejoin. If you're constantly kicking out your members for being unruly and sometimes you want to let them back in, well, that'd be a problem. So hopefully your people are behaved. All right, now in meeting advanced. Breakout rooms, love breakout rooms. Anything else down here? I think those are the main ones in these settings that I wanted to share. All right, waiting room. Waiting room means if you enable this, and you can also set this up when you schedule individual meetings, you might want to like not have this on for most of your meetings, but for some meetings create it. A waiting room makes it so that when people go to join the meeting, they don't automatically enter the meeting. They go into a little a waiting space, and you have to click to move them into the meeting. Now all right, what's this say? All right, do you want to have a waiting room for all participants or guest participants only? Guest users are not in your organization and users will not have signed it. Now, what that means is if you're using Zoom for Business and all the people signed in are at, such and such a domain.com and all their emails are at whatever.com or .org, if you can make it so that only people who are outside of that, who do not have one of your organization's email addresses, have to go to a waiting room. So for most of our purposes, we have people with all kinds of email addresses. So if you enable waiting room, it would be for all participants. Now, when would you use the waiting room? Well, one, if you are expecting, if you've published your Zoom links and you're really at risk of having people crash your meetings, if you have a smaller meeting, like, oh, this is just like a office hours for the minister or whatever it is, you might enable that meeting room, and as people pop in and are in that meeting room kind of queue, you have to eyeball them to be like, all right, who are these people that we know? Some of these things require that we know our members and friends. It gets complicated, but so waiting room just means people have to wait and have you add them. And if you don't know who your members are, well, then that would be a hard thing to do. So that might be useful for some of you in some circumstances. All right, let's keep going down. All right, then other things are about recording. So those are the main things under the settings. Now, there are things you need to be able to do when you schedule a meeting. Let's actually go to schedule a meeting. So I'm going to up here at the top, I'm going to click schedule meeting. And I'm going to call this troll party. All right, troll party. All right, now when we scroll down, now see here where it says recurring meeting. If I was going to set up an ongoing gathering or a committee meeting, I would could make a recurring meeting and set up a password and make sure that all my committee members know the password and they have the same link. And so, that can be helpful. Registration. This is something that I think is very important. You can set up registration. I'm going to click this for webinars and meetings. What that means is when someone clicks your Zoom link, say your Zoom meeting link, the link that they're going to is not the meeting itself, but a registration page, so that they have to enter their name and email. Now, what does that do? Well, you can, once you click registration required and then schedule the meeting, I'm going to scroll down and do that. Let me go a little slowly. Oh, wait. See here where it shows there's the, these are some things we talked about. Under registration, meeting ID, generate automatically. I said you want to generate that automatically. Do not use your personal meeting ID. You want to generate automatically because you don't want to be giving out your personal meeting room to anyone except your friends. Meeting password. I do most of my Zoom is with individual clients I'm coaching, like working with organizations on digital strategy. And so I'm just sending a specific meeting link to an individual. So I don't do a lot with passwords. But again, we need to think about whether or not that's helpful in your context. So that's where you could turn that off. Say if you set that global default, create a password for every meeting. For each meeting you schedule, you can turn it off. So I'll turn that off for this example. Video host. All right. We want for this meeting, the host video to be on. Do you want your participants to be on? If you turn that off, then everyone coming in wouldn't be able to turn on their video. So we do want, for a lot of your meetings, people to come on, your Zoom meetings, to come on, be able to turn on have their audio and video on, but we need to know how to boot people out of the meeting. So we'll do that in just a second. All right, keep going down. Meeting options, enable join before host. We talked about that. You can see how the global settings that we did on the other page, when you click schedule new meeting, like you can see how they've been set. So if you had changed something on your global settings, the main settings page, and you click to schedule a meeting and you realize you want it for this specific meeting, you can do that. So innate waiting room, authenticated users only, there are all those options. Now, if you clicked the register link, enable registration, after you click save, all right, so here's all my troll party meeting, jazzy information. Here's the URL. If you scroll down to the bottom, and let me see. It's a little harder on the small screen. Oh, I'm going to click edit this meeting. And at the bottom, there should be, wait, did I click registration? Oh, wait, registration required. Let me go back page. All right, I'm going to save this. Sorry, I'm going fast. All right, so in this example, so now you see how that is a registration URL instead of just a meeting link. So you would share that registration link. So what I just did real quick is I hadn't set it to be a registration required meeting. Now I changed that to registration required. And so now we see that this is a registration link. And when people click that, they have to enter their email. And this is what I was looking for at the bottom. When you have created a meeting with registration required, you've created it, saved the meeting, at the bottom there, at the settings on the page, bottom of your meeting page, registration has information, shows you how many people have registered, and see where it says registration options, automatically approve is kind of a default. If we click edit here on the right, edit, we can choose between automatically approve and manually approve. So say I'm the congregation that I attend, where my wife is on staff, we're doing worship services using a webinar. Registration is required. Everyone's being automatically approved. Just go right in. When they sign up, we're getting their name and email, and then they automatically get the meeting information. If you click manually approve for your meeting or webinar registration, depending on if you're using Zoom meeting or webinar, let's talk about meetings. If you click manually approve, as people register, there's going to be a list of people who need to be approved for entry. What's that going to do? Well, if you have the ability to go through a list and know who all your people are that you want to enter, well, that's a real level of security. Like you're saying, all right, for this event, this meeting, you have to register so we know your name and email, and we're not going to let you in unless we know who you are, which raises questions about how do we make our online experiences welcoming and available to newcomers, to visitors. That's an important consideration. But I just want you to know, sorry, I didn't just yell at you. I want you to know just what the options are. So I'm going to save all that. Now let's actually go into start the meeting. Are you ready? We're going to invite some trolls. All right, friends, you're in a Zoom meeting that hasn't been protected. Troll, Zoom bombers hit it. What do? First things, you should have turned off your file sharing and screen sharing for participants before the meeting started. So you can do that right now. Go to your main account on zoom.us and make it so by default under your meeting settings, participants can't share that stuff. If somebody needs to share their screen, share files, make them a host. But you don't want participants, given the Zoom bombing environment, for people to be able to share pornography, other things via file sharing or screen sharing, share their desktop and a website. So if the Zoom bombers hit and they can't share the files that way, they're either going to mess with you in the chat or on their video. First, you should have a policy or plan up front, like right now. If people Zoom bomb your meeting, what are you going to do? Are you going to try and manage it and get rid of them? Or are you just going to be like, we didn't do a good enough job with our security. They found this meeting. We're going to end the meeting. I think you might want to just consider ending the meeting and being like, sorry folks, we've been Zoom bombed. We're going to end this meeting and we'll be in touch shortly. If you want to, and so that would just mean clicking end meeting for all. You do need to make sure that you don't have join before host enabled, because then people might try and come back into your meeting if it ended. Your Zoom bombers can come back in. Now, suppose you wanted to manage just if there's one Zoom bomber and you wanted to manage that person, get them out of your room. How do you do that? If you, from the participant management panel here on the side, and if it's not visible to you on your desktop or laptop, just go up to view in the menu. You go over their name. Here's Nasty Troll. When you hover over them, you get the more option. Click that, and then it says you can remove them. When you remove them, you don't want them to come back. So you need to have enabled, made sure that the settings in your Zoom meeting settings does not allow remove people to come back in. But so you would remove them. So you can remove them there, or if over the main screen, if their video's on, hover over their video and there's the 3 little dots that comes up next to unmute. Click that, and then there you can remove them. So there's 2 places where you can do that. In chat, let's open up the chat box. And in the chat, when they start sharing disruptive content, you're going to want to lock down the chat right away. So if you go down to your chat, see the little 3 dots here, over to the side of where you enter in your text, click on that. And that lets you change, can everyone post to just, to share with everyone publicly, just chat messages just with the host, or to no one. So I've already switched it to no one, but you might have had your settings on so that right now when it comes on, people can share that to everyone. So you want to quickly, as soon as you have a Zoom bomber, switch that to no one so that they can't do that. If they've started sharing something on video, you want to turn off their video. So, and again, I have shut down their video. Let me click start. I'm going to start video. Let me see if I can. All right, I'm going to ask to start video. All right. I'm running multiple computers. So suppose the troll is over here, has their video on, and you need to turn it off. You can go over, do the 3 dots right on their video, see where it says stop video, or in participants, see a little video camera over here. We're going to click more, stop video. And once you stop their video, they can't turn it back on. Your problem is going to be when you're Zoom bombed, very often it's multiple people coming in. Like I was reading about a congregation where they had 30 people come in all at once. So I think if you get Zoom bombed, if you have not enabled security protocols to prevent them from finding your meeting URL and doing things like registration, etc., keeping the actual meeting link in your organization's email, which even that, you could end up having that get out accidentally via archived email marketing messages online. If you get Zoom bombed, shutting down that meeting is probably the best bet. So hope that's helpful, and I'll talk to you all soon. Watch out for trolls, Zoom bombers, Zoom safely.